In this video, we take a look at a game with the Arclight Phoenix deck where we had to take a mull to 5 on the play, but still come back and make it a game. Hope you enjoy it. All right, we've got our game. Our opponent, MC Hammer. All right, let's check out our hand. A one-lander, it's not a dual land. We're on the play, we have no plays. That's a mull. Another one-lander. At least it's a dual land, and we do have a Warlord's Fury we can cast to try to draw into another land, but man, going to 5 on the play just feels so bad, but I think we have to. Another one-lander. And that's not a land, so Arclight to the bottom, play out our island and pass. The good news is that if we do find a land, especially if we find a red source, we're not out of the game. We can Charter Chorus, we can Tormenting Voice, we can basically draw 4 cards. And a Priest of the Awakening Sun, so maybe Naya Dinos, and we draw a Arclight instead of a land. So that's a bummer. All right, pass to our opponent, and they reveal Raptor, so they gain the life. Undoubtedly, we're going to see the Raptor come down here. Yep, here it comes. And we're going to probably get pinged for 1 by the Priest to go to 19. And we need to find a land here. Come on. Yes, all right, excellent. So find a land off the top. You know what? Let's actually Tormenting Voice because we know we're going to discard the Phoenix. So as part of the casting cost, we can play that. Pass back to our opponent. We find no lands and a 3rd copy of Phoenix out of the top, what was that? 6 cards that we looked at so far. All right. So a Territorial Hammer Skull. That can be a problem for us because we really don't go wide with our deck. So the opponent might be able to, you know, basically tap down the few creatures we have to block with and just keep pushing in if they go wide. So we're going to take 4. We're going to go 15. Then we're going to Charter Course because that's not a land either. Charter Course, we're hunting for lands. No lands. We'll dump the Phoenix and pass back to our opponent. We are going to go to, what, 9? 1, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 9 this turn. And another Hammer Skull. Things are not looking great. And another Priest. Okay. Here comes a swing for 6. We go to 9. So we have to find a land. How do we win this? How do we survive? We got to get the Phoenix out of the graveyard. There's 2 in there. We can get them out. We can use them to block out here. The only way to do that, though, is that we have to draw into a land. So we can cast Warlord's Fury. We can cast Opt. And we have to find a red source so we can cast Crash Through. And then we survive. Oh, that's not a red source. Neither is that. Come on. Hey, we found one. And we did find a shock there, so that actually works out. So now we can actually shock. You know, I'd rather shock the, get rid of the Hammer Skull. We don't have that option because it won't die, obviously. So instead, we'll just shock that Raptor. Out come our Phoenix, and we're going to go ahead and pass to our opponent. These are defensive Phoenix right now. Using them to box out that Hammer Skull. Our opponent continues to gain the life. Not super worried about the life gain, honestly. Because if we do end up winning, it's going to be when we stabilize and get some Drakes out and get to swing for, like, you know, 15 or so points per turn. So the Hammer Skull doesn't come down, but we got a Lancer and a Drover. So that's a 1/1 double strike because of the Dino and a 3/3 in Drover. So it looks like our opponent's trying to set up for next turn or the turn after. I'm actually okay with that. If the Hammer Skulls came down, that actually would have been worse for us, so not bad. And I think we just have to Drake here to put another body out to, again, make it disadvantageous for our opponent to attack in, even with the Hammer Skull. And more life for our opponent. More life. And let's see if the Hammer Skull drops or if they continue to go wide or have another option. What is this? A Pterodon Knight. Not a particularly good card, as far as I'm concerned. Well, I think we need to find another creature. So to do that, we got to draw some more cards. And we're not attacking, so Charter Course, we can dump a Maximize Velocity because we can always jumpstart it later. We did find a land, which is great. We can now Tormenting Voice as a follow-up. We'll dump the Crash Through. And we do find a Drake. excellent. So again, we'll pass back to our opponent. You can see how big the Drake is getting so quickly. So next turn, we're basically going to have 2 of them. And our opponent gains more life to 38. So now they're actually kind of getting to a point where maybe they're out of range and we won't be able to race them if we have to. That's semi-problematic. Let's see if the other Hammer Skull comes down or if we see just a push with everything. That'd actually be pretty good for us if the opponent attacked this turn. So I think maybe a slight misstep by our opponent. Granted, they don't know what we had in hand. They didn't know that we were chasing to try to get into the Drakes. But by going wide the way they did, instead of just attacking, I think they gave us an extra turn or 2 here to stabilize and set up. So I think we're on the Drake plan. And another Phoenix. That's really good. Now we could jumpstart the maximize velocity on the Drake and swing and put the Phoenix in the bin. Or we could just do that without swinging and put the Phoenix in the bin. But, you know, I think we just want to hold everybody back for D here. Because with those 2 Hammer Skulls attacking, I think we actually need to have everybody back. So we're going to go ahead and pass to our opponent. And see how they decide to attack us. And that is a big boy. Thankfully, no flying. So the flash is obviously really good if there's a small creature attacking. And you can flash in that card, take the damage, get some ++ counters on it, so on and so forth. So here we go. Let's see how this is going to play out. So our opponent is opting not to attack with everything, which we are perfectly fine with. This might be the best case scenario. I think that this is not a great attack by our opponent. So both Drakes get tapped. We will happily trade both of our Phoenix copies for this, because we can just get them back next turn. Again, the power of that card is that it just comes back again and again and again. Okay. Yeah, that seemed like not a great turn for our opponent. And they destroy the Enigma Drake. Probably wanted to do the Crackling Drake there because it gets its power off of the exiled cards, but probably 6 one way, half dozen the other. So Tormenting Voice will dump the Phoenix. We draw a Lava Coil, which is really great because that gives us an answer for the Sailback. But now we need to get some creatures back out on the board here. So I think we can get all 3 Phoenix back out on the board, and we can attack with our Drake. Because now that the Hammer Skulls are gone, we don't need to have as many creatures back defending. So I think we're going to be going Maximize Velocity plus Crash Through, go to combat, 3 Phoenix come back, attack with the Drake for, what is that, 13 it's going to be for? And we draw a shock for use next turn. So our opponent is at 42. But watch how quickly this is going to turn around. I think we actually probably just took over the game. I don't think our opponent could have necessarily beat us that last turn, but they at least could have put us in a much worse position or a much more dangerous position. See if the Sailback comes down. I mean, 12. So we basically, I mean, we've got 19 on board right now in terms of damage, thanks to the Crackling Drake and the 3 copies of Phoenix coming back. So here comes the Sailback. So that is going to eat a Lava Coil from us this coming turn. And then we also have the opportunity, if we want to shock, we can shock. Obviously, because the Sailback dies off of that initial damage burst, the counter trigger doesn't actually resolve into anything. So just a little tip if you weren't aware of that. So we're just going to go ahead and swing with Drake again here. You know, while our opponent's tapped out, let's go ahead and shock one of their priests. Let's shock one of the priests. Because now we're in a position where we have lethal next turn. And I don't necessarily want our opponent going digging for a card that they can do something with. And they just scoop. Wow. Can you believe that? Now, granted, the Dino deck isn't exactly like top tier competitive, but how many lands did we miss that game? And we still came back and won? This deck is crazy strong.